Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram, dear sisters. My loving pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba and to all of you. I have been asked to share some thoughts on the subject of transformation, and since I'm not a speaker, I will look at my notes that I have been making once in a while to remind me of the contents. We can begin by using the often used method of who, what, where, when, and how. So we'll start with what. What is the meaning of spiritual transformation? According to the dictionary, a spiritual transformation involves fundamental changes in a person's sacred or spiritual life. A fundamental change in our spiritual or sacred life. For us, who call ourselves Sai devotees, transformation is the goal of our life. As Swami has tirelessly repeated, our goal is to discover our innate divinity, and Swami has given us tools to do that. And those tools are the centers, or samitis as you call them, with the wings of the organization such as education, service, devotional, singing, and all the activities that we take on are the only purpose is to help us to be transformed into a more spiritual being and to discover who we really are. So who is to be transformed? Swami says we are Atma, and Atma is changeless. What needs to change is the parts of us which hide our true reality, our negative qualities that prevent us from being aware of who we really are. How do we do this? Baba tells us that transformation can happen by practice only. And I'm going to read a little quote of Swami that describes that. He says, all of you have great love and adore Swami, but that love alone and adoration are of no use if you ignore the teachings of Swami. It is no use if you simply utter the name of the Lord and do not follow the good things that go with the Lord. It is just like uttering the name of penicillin when you are running a high temperature. Only when you take in the penicillin, the temperature will go down. So, what does Swami do? We call Swami our Guru. Why? Because Swami teaches us every moment of our lives, every moment of his life on earth and beyond. Swami keeps on teaching us. We can listen to his discourses, we can read, we can absorb information from many sources, but most importantly, we need to act. Where do we begin? A good place to start, in my opinion, is by choosing the company we keep. You all know how much emphasis Swami puts on keeping good company. Our company can influence us either positively or negatively. And then after we have conquered that, we can start by doing a self-evaluation. We can do it before we go to bed. Think about our day. Think about our thoughts, our words, our actions during the day, and figure out if that is according to what Swami would have wanted us to do, or we need to change something. Someone once asked, well, that's all good, but Swami asks us to do too many things. We have to speak softly and sweetly, do good, see good, repeat the name of the Lord constantly, and that is just too much to do. But Swami clearly tells us that we don't have to do that. If you take, he says, if you take just one thing and keep practicing, it is enough. All we need to do is to begin to practice one good conduct, and the next will follow. And I can tell you from experience that Swami makes it so much easier. He does say, you take one step towards me, I'll take 1,000 steps or 100 steps towards you. And we can all experience that. Once we start practicing one thing, the next thing comes so much easier and just follows one after the other. All we have to do is be determined to follow Swami's teachings and act. In his Divine Discourse on November 19th, 2005, Swami said, "The human birth is highly sacred. That is why God assumes the human form. Hence, develop purity of heart and lead your lives in a sacred manner." So Swami asks us to purify our hearts. That is major transformation. What does this mean? What does purity of heart really mean? I explained it to myself in a way, in this way. It does not mean that I am polite and sweet on the outside, but inside I'm angry and jealous. It does not mean that I'm careful with my words and try not to hurt anyone, but my thoughts are angry and hurtful. Just because I know nobody can hear me, my thoughts are negative. And that is not what Swami wants, and that is not how we can purify our hearts. The person with a pure heart does not pretend to be polite and loving and nice. Polite and loving are his nature. Sweetness and beauty are automatic. Honesty, truthfulness, joy, innocence are our nature. When our heart is pure, we would not know how to be different. That is true transformation. On this subject of transformation, I just like to share one short experience with you. I had a colleague when I was working, because I am now retired, who thought that we were always at odds. She thought that I was challenging her, or she was always challenging me. For some reason, whatever achievements I got, she thought it was something that happened against her. So one day I decided to take Swami's idea of when Hislop was seeing Swami on everybody's shoulder, and tried that practice. So I practiced seeing this girl, but not her head, Swami's head. I replaced her head with Swami's head. She happened to be beautiful, darker complexion, and curly hair. So it wasn't very difficult. To make a long story short, after some time, which was at least a year, we ended up being more friends than anybody else in our company, and still continue to be closer, heart to heart. If that sounds unbelievable, it isn't, because it's happened to me, and it was beautiful. I'm glad I could share that with you. So, on this subject of transformation, I'd also like to say something that Swami told me. One time, while in the interview room, Swami looked at he pointed at the window where people were sitting outside the Sai Kuan hall, and he said, "You see, there are people and people and people out there. So many people. They are not your business. Don't think about them." This is a quote. Don't think about them. Think about yourself and do your duty. Think about yourself and do your duty. That to me meant don't bother with what other people do or say. Change your own faults. Because we usually just look at other people, and the first thing that we see is all their faults. And we can judge them and point out to us or to them whatever it is that we feel is negative. But Swami says, don't think about them. Think about yourself and do your duty. That to me was a mandate, and I have taken it up ever since then. I try to see everybody as my sisters, and everybody being on the same journey that I am, and that is the journey of transformation. Swami told me to mind my own business, and I think that message is not just for me, it is for all of us. So, okay. We are blessed. We are blessed to have the honor of having a divine guru, the Lord of the universe, Sri Sathya Sai Baba, teaching us and helping us to transform and to discover our divine selves. There are no words to express how fortunate we are. There is only one way to express our gratitude, to make sure that his efforts and his lessons do not go to waste. We must open our eyes and hearts and accept our lessons with love and gratitude. We have to make efforts to practice his teachings so that we can gain his divine grace, because only through grace transformation will take place. To review at what we looked at what is spiritual transformation, a fundamental change in our spiritual life. Who is to be transformed? Our personal negative qualities. How are we to do this? My way is to choose my company as Swami dictates to us. Be with good company and follow up with self-evaluation. So, when do we do this? His Swami would tell us time waste is life waste. So there is no time like the present if we have not already started on this journey of transformation. Most importantly, why? Why should we do this? Because it is the goal of our life. And if we do not, our life will be wasted. So let us conclude this session with a very important question. How will we know if we are succeeding in our efforts? Swami told us that we are his message. So when our family, our friends, our community, when they look at us, they should be able to see the changes in us and should be able to think or say, she or he is different, or they. He or she is kind, loving, egoless, because she or he or they are devotees of Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and they have been transformed into true human beings. That would be a real confirmation that we are on the right track. We are doing what we're supposed to do. We're listening to Swami, and most importantly, we are completing our task, our purpose on earth, which is to become true human beings and then divine. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm glad that I could share my thoughts, and let us pray that Swami will help us to grow in love and brotherhood, and no matter how painful the blows are to our ego, please, Swami, do not give up on us. Please always hold our hands and bring us back to you, closer and closer to our true selves. Jai Sai Ram. Thank you.